You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio Network on KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where the strange is just another day at the office and the unexplained is our playground.
KUAP Digital Broadcasting, Troubled Minds Radio. Do you ever feel like you're being watched? Don't trust the government, wonder if aliens are real, what's possible and what's not. Will they actually take over the Earth? Do ghosts exist? What about Sasquatch? Curiosity peaked? We've got more. We don't go deep, we go wide, because we're already at skull-crushing depths. Who is the most powerful oligarchy running the world from the shadows? What about these UFO reports? Are they falsified? Are they going to keep giving us nothing burgers over and over and over and over and over and over again? We got more. Why is there so much contradictory information about peculiar topics? Is the Illuminati a real thing? What does the New World Order even mean? Come and join the conversation. Let's try and dig. Let's try and find out. Because if we don't do it, it might not get done.
You're tuned into Troubled Minds Radio Network on KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where we peer into the future, embrace the power of AI, and delve deep into the conspiracies that shape our world.
Some people believe that crystals have spiritual properties and can be used to connect with the ancient civilization of Atlantis. They believe the crystals were once used by the Atlanteans for spiritual healing, meditation, and communication. Some people believe that the crystals can still be used for these purposes today. The Atlantis crystal power myth is the belief that crystals from Atlantis have special powers. This myth is often associated with the idea that Atlantis was a highly advanced civilization that was destroyed by a natural disaster. Some people believe that the crystals from Atlantis survived the disaster and can be used to tap into the power of Atlantis. Have you ever tried? Check out Spirit Magica Crystal Shop and use coupon code Troubled Minds, all one word, for 25% off your first purchase.
Welcome to the show, folks. Exile Minds podcast. Me, your incredibly famous host, Liam Martin. I hope you've had a wonderful day today. Sorry I missed the show yesterday. I'm setting up this new restream so I can stream to multiple platforms. So I'm just trying to get that set up. I think I've got it today though. So it's a bit of a test one today. See if it kind of works and goes out on Rumble. So we're streaming on YouTube at the minute. Also going out to Twitter. I'm not really sure how that sort of thing works, but X.
streaming out to X today, the Exominds podcast, and we should be going to Rumble, or if not, if it's not working today, then soon we'll be doing that as well, and maybe a couple of other platforms too. So that would be great. And that's also in addition to the stream on Spotify, and also you can hear the Exominds podcast on Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Okay, so today on with the show, Exominds podcast episode number 48, I do believe. Eriko's got a peppermint tea ready for the show. So without any further ado then, stream is working on YouTube. That's good to know. So we're good there. So yeah, I think it'll get all figured out. I don't know quite exactly how many streams we can get on. I think there's about 6 or whatever. I don't know what else to go for. If you've got any suggestions, actually, stick them in the old comments. So far I've got YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble. So if you can think of any other platforms I should probably be on. Might try BitChute. I've not really looked at that much, but I found a few things that were censored everywhere else on BitChute before, so they might be pretty good worth checking out. But anyway, without any further ado, Exominds podcast episode number 48 today. We're talking about the Vimanas and ancient flying machines. But in fairness, the Vimanas is quite a lot to cover, so we might not get to all over the world, every culture. We might have to stick around this sort of India, Southeast Asia area with this one today. But Vimanas today, the show, Vimanas and ancient flying machines. We'll go on it. This will be a captivating episode where we explore the intriguing world of Vimanas and the ancient flying machines, from the mystical Vimanas of India and to some of the celestial chariots that have been mentioned by cultures like the ancient Egyptians, ancient Greeks, and beyond this. So this episode will take us through a journey and a rich tapestry of global folklore mythology. Though we'll tend to focus around one area where the Vimanas come from. We'll explain what it is, what the sort of deal is with it. We'll dive through the pages of history, mythology, and uncover some information on the divine flying machines, like I mentioned, celestial chariots, winged heroes, cultures around the world. Let's try and discover some of the common threads that connect these fascinating tales of airborne wonders and unravel the mysteries behind these ancient legends. But do these stories hold any grains of truth, is the question we want to ask today. Or are they just purely the stuff of myth and legend? So join us as we try to separate fact from fiction and explore the enduring fascination for humanity with the idea of soaring through the skies as we embark on this journey, the Exominds podcast. Let's get on our wings of imagination and fly through time and space with this one. That's right up there, hell with the computer. But anyway, Vimanas then. As mentioned, they come up in various ancient Indian texts. And they're described as flying machines, like I say, chariots of the gods, which was a title of one of the books by Eric von Däniken, who was famous for bringing to attention to the world in Peru the Nazca lines, which are a bit of a strange phenomenon which we've not covered. So that's going to have to be a show that we look at. But yeah, Eric von Däniken called it as one of his chariots of the gods, I think, or if not him, Hancock. But yeah, pretty sure Chariots of the Gods was a thing. But anyway, just a little side note there. Eric von Däniken. Okay, so the Vimanas, as mentioned, Indian texts. So there's ancient texts that have come up, which we'll get into. And the most detailed descriptions of these Vimanas, they can mostly be found in Indian texts, primarily in the Vedas, in their epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which talks about the Great War of the Gods, and other Puranic literatures. These texts describe Vimana as flying machines that were used by the gods, sages, and heroes of ancient times. So when we say gods, sages, and heroes, we don't kind of use those terms in modern society, but they to me sound like they're your most prestigious people in society, you know. So maybe they'll be your business moguls. They'll seem like gods because they've got the fancy tech. I don't know, but that's gods, sages, and heroes. Sages aren't gods, are they? Interestingly, they're people, kind of wise people. Heroes are people too, aren't they? They're people that are brave. So it's so interestingly with this, although when we think of flying machines, like perhaps in Norse mythology, it's always the gods and Thor and his chariot and whatnot, just the gods. But as we see here, straight away, this is talking about sages and heroes using them as well, which kind of implies the general public to me. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the descriptions. So the descriptions of the Vimana are often based as being Vimanas are often described as being capable of travelling through the air, through water, and even through space. They are said to have various shapes and sizes, with some accounts describing them as circular, while others depict them as more like aerial chariots with multiple wheels. Ref Ezekiel's wheel there, wheels within wheels, multiple wheels. And from the Bible, so East and West meeting a bit there. Divine and mythological connections. We've got those as well. So in many texts, the Vimanas are associated with deities and legendary figures. For example, in the Ramayana, the god Rama is said to have used a Vimana called Pushpaka. So Pushpaka was used to travel through the sky. So Rama, in the Ramayana, one of the gods Rama, he was getting across the sky and getting to where he needed to go and going to do battles in a flying machine called Pushpaka. And Vimanas are also associated with, like, say, divine beings and then mythical heroes. So it's stated it there as mythical heroes. But sages, they're not mythical, are they? You know, that's your mad person at the edge of the village. That's your shaman or your wise woman or your witch. Yeah. That's who the sages are, really. But that's a whole other slander in history. So yes, so got him in connected to the divine stuff and the mythological stuff. It says a lack of physical evidence in the studies. So from a purely scientific point of view, despite the detailed descriptions in ancient texts, of which they are, and we'll get to some really detailed descriptions, as well as I think there might be kind of something to this rather than just, you know, kids' stories and fantasy tales, because they're so detailed with the descriptions. It seems a bit odd to be so detailed. But anyway, despite the detailed descriptions in the ancient texts, there is no physical evidence to support the existence of Vimanas as advanced flying machines. There are no recovered artifacts, drawings, or any other tangible proofs to suggest that such machines existed in the past. But then the pyramids exist, the Great Pyramids of Giza exists, and the other pyramids, you know, they exist. Right, and I know they're not flying machines, but the Egyptians never claimed to have built them. Actually. So who built them? And they're still there, aren't they? There's no drawings or plans of how they got built. But they're still there, making the point that just because there's no drawings, no artifacts left behind that it don't mean that, obviously. Because the pyramids are there, and there's no design plans for that, and yet it exists, right? Because it's still there. Because it's above the sand. So maybe some of these things are actually hidden under the sand, right? Considering there's been a few floods in this planet, it's probably under the mud. And jungles and stuff like that, recover things, reclaim things in a few decades, man, the jungle will just grow back, take the land back. Look how fast your weeds grow in your garden. They just take over. If you just leave it, if you just don't do anything at all to your garden for 2 years, you watch what happens. If you've got a lovely, nice garden now, so definitely man's been there and, adjusted nature, get your block paving down or whatever, do some bits in that little fountain, you leave that for a couple of years, see what happens. See what happens after a decade. Everything will be hidden. Grown over. So anywho, so yeah, lack of evidence. Well, there's another thing with archaeology. Then sometimes you get situations where they will only dig so far down and say, well, we're not going to dig any further because there was nothing older than that. But then you'll find places like Göbekli Tepe, or Karahan Tepe, which is a sister site to Göbekli, Turkey, which is, a buried city that is not older than the oldest ones that we knew about. So it's like totally changed history, just one discovery. And that was in the mid-90s. So It took this long to. Do you know what I'm saying? It took a German archaeologist like just decades to just doing diligent work on his own, basically, and trying to get attention for it for years and years and years before Göbekli Tepe was even known about. So I think the lack of physical evidence, like I say, we need to put that to one side. But anyway, let me get an image up of some of these, because although they say there's no drawings, there is descriptions, and so people have I'll get this just for the people on the video, just get a potential image up so you don't have to stare at my ugly mush the whole time. Right, I'm just going to read through this little intro. Okay, so interpretation and speculations. The descriptions of the Vimanas have led to a wide range of interpretations and speculations. Some believe that these ancient texts are describing advanced technological devices, while others consider them as symbolic or a metaphorical representation, aka, maybe people don't have wings really. Maybe angels are supposed to be having wings to represent the power of flight, that kind of thing, that sort of stuff. So anyway, skepticism. Many scholars and researchers view the concept of Vimanas as mythological or symbolic rather than historical. They argue that the text should be understood within the cultural, religious context and not as literal accounts of flying machines. Which again, the same can be said, I get what they're saying there, but the same can be said for ancient Greeks. Because the ancient Greeks have talked about some really wild stuff. And we're throwing that out too. I made this point before. We're throwing that out with the ancient Greeks talking wild stuff. What? To scare children? Making up these crazy stories. But why? And the Indians are doing it as well. So I don't know. But there's a fair point, In the historical context, there might be lots of symbolism packed in these stories that relate to the culture and things in the language, or like common proverbs. So that maybe the stories are to remind you of proverbs or to remind you how to do harvest properly, and there's parables in there. So I get that. But moving on with the description. So there's skepticism, thinking it might be sort of metaphorical and just symbolic of things, like giving someone wings could indicate the power of flight. So maybe you've got some symbolic stuff going on. But as our modern interests, despite the lack of concrete evidence, Vimanas continue to be a topic of interest for some individuals who explore alternative history and ancient technological theories, aka me, ancient civilizations, definitely. Lost civilization, lost ancient advanced civilization, almost, just needs to be accepted by mainstream science, almost certain. The ancient civilization, advanced civilization survived the last ice age, just did. It's all over. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Graham Hancock's done a lot of work on that. Okay, so I look at these alternative history and technological theories, and they have even been the subject of modern science fiction and speculative literature. Indeed, there is a movie called, I think it might be called Vimana, about some guys in some Desert Storm, like Desert Storm War and Desert Storm 2, and that there was a film about some American soldiers that kind of get trapped somewhere in that kind of era. We're talking, I think in the film it's like the Middle East, and they encounter apparently this kind of Vimana, and it's a bit of a weird film when they're not sure, you don't exactly see it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a bit of a creepy film. Worth watching though. So yeah, so it's coming in pop culture and in science fiction because it's kind of interesting. I think it is quite fascinating, really, to be honest. And the plot thickens with this. So in summary, the Vimanas are ancient flying machines mentioned in Indian texts, but their existence obviously remains a matter of debate and interpretation. While there are fascinating elements of Indian mythology and culture, there is no scientific and archaeological evidence to suggest that such machines were once real and operational. However, I remember from looking into this a few years ago that the Indians were giving pretty detailed accounts, and it mentions this in the descriptions of this stuff. So they give pretty detailed accounts, and it was detailed accounts of how they building them and how they operated, which seems pretty odd. If these aren't real physical objects, why would you describe how you make them? Like a kind of manufacturing process. And why would you know what I'm saying? If this is not real. And there's a little interesting side note. I found this as well, which I'll just share on screen because I like to get a bit of a read on the cultural areas and that. So Pakistani defence, a little PDF there, links in the description. So there's just a little thread here on Pakistan defence where there's just people just chit-chatting and whatnot. I don't know if these are real field marshals or lieutenant colonels, no idea. That's what it says on these posters on this thread at Pakistan defence. And they mention the Vimanas, as in they're calling them Bimanas. Someone's saying, isn't it really called Bimana? And this is I'm just going to quote straight from there. They're saying on this Pakistan defence website, on this little thread, that they're called Bimanas. And then Bengalis believe the Bimanas it's like Biman Airlines. So they should be called Bimanas in the Pakistani language, in the Bengali area. And they're saying, yes, this means a flying object. Bimana means flying object. Modern Bengali designation, Bimana, is for a fixed wing craft. For a little interesting side note there, that and the region that this is in is it's more to the sort of northeast of India. So we've got the northeast, and it's more towards the Kingdom of Brunei, up near towards Tibet, and then you're getting over towards, where you got, Burma, Myanmar, and Thailand. So this is more the east of India, and there's those areas more towards the areas where you get black Buddhas, the African Buddhas. There's some weird history gone on there, some missing pieces in history. So I'd like to point this bit out. It's that kind of region getting towards Southeast Asia where we've got Angkor Wat, which is a really stupidly ancient site. And they recently found copper wire there inside a statue of a turtle. So there's, I don't think these people I don't think we're giving them credit, which is what we're sort of getting to. But anyway, moving on with this then. So I know they give technical descriptions. I remember this, looking into this before. So I thought, can I find some of this? And I found this, yeah. So I've looked at the region. And in the Vimana text, there's these kind of instruction manuals about them. So specifically, these Vimanas, or as known as Vaimanika Shastra, the Vaimanika Shastra, or the Vimana Shastra, is a controversial and ancient Sanskrit text that is said to contain detailed information about the construction and operation of flying machines known as the Vimanas. The Vimanas are described, say, in Indian mythology as the flying chariots, vehicles of the gods, and they are mentioned in various ancient Indian texts, including, say, the Mahabharata and Maharayana. So there's instruction manuals contained within the books. The Vaimanika Shastra is attributed to sage, I'm going to butcher this name, Baharaja. So the sage Baharaja is said to have put together a compilation of early texts. That's said to be the Baharaja is said to be a compilation of early texts on the subject of Vimanas. It describes various types of Vimanas, their propulsion systems, and the materials used in the construction. The text also includes information about the pilot's controls, navigation, and even weaponry of these flying machines. However, it's important to note that it's controversial. It's widely regarded as pseudo-scientific and mythical works. Many scholars and scientists dismiss it as a hoax, as there's no concrete evidence, as mentioned before, to support the existence of such advanced flying machines in ancient India. And not just fly machines, because they could float on water, so there's a boat. Maybe they could go underwater if they could allegedly go in space. So maybe they're like submarines too. It says that the texts, although they are describing the construction and telling you stuff, about how it kind of works, the text lacks technical and engineering details required to accurately build and operate such vehicles. But that's in terms of accurately built, trying to reproduce them today with the technological know-how that we've got. So bear that in mind. You have to put that in context of the culture as well. When scientists now are saying, "Oh, you can't do that. There's not the technical details aren't there. It wouldn't be feasible. It's fantastical and not unfeasible." But maybe that's coming from the perspective of what you think is possible. Now, if someone else looks at the same text, they might say, "Oh," they might make the link. Because I remember part of this from years ago, reading it years ago. They were talking about using granite rods, these massive granite pillars. And then so maybe it's a clue. Why granite pillars? They've got crystalline structure in there, so maybe it's more to do with resonance. And it describes how these machines were humming, almost like a hummingbird. They would glide at the speed of the wind and make this kind of humming sound. Right? So then we could be looking at things like acoustic levitation, which I was going to get a video up for that. I might do that before the show ends. Have a quick look at some acoustic levitation, just to see, because it looks cool. But I'll turn the sound down once you've heard the tone, because it's really annoying. It's the same tone all the time. But yeah, so there's instruction manuals. Now, while they might not be telling you exactly how to make them, do the US military put instruction manuals how to exactly build their stuff? They don't, do they? Britain don't do it. You don't, you might tell people what payloads your stuff's got and, it's got this and that, it's got this technology on it, but you don't give people the blueprints of your latest stuff, do you? You know what I'm saying? You might say, it's got this many Tomahawk missiles and it's got this, bomb and this gun or whatever, and it can fire this many rounds, but you don't necessarily, it can go at this speed, carry this payload, but you don't say, and this is how you make it, take home my tag, don't do any research and development yourself, here, I will pay for it. You just give it away, do you? Anywho. Are we coming up to a break? I think we are, because it started half past. I think we're coming up to... All right then. We'll have some technical instructions on the Vimanas. We're coming up to a break. We'll have a look at one of these, that special Pushkapaka Vimana in a minute. Yeah, we'll take a little break and then Exo Minds podcast. I'm trying to stick to this radio clock, because when we eventually go pro, I want to make sure I'm tight to the clock. So yes, doing everything right. So we'll just drop that track in there. We'll just grab a random one, little 4-minute block track. We'll have a little play of this, little Breaking Eggs and Minds podcast back in just a couple of minutes, and we'll be talking a bit more about these Vimanas, and say we've covered some of the technical details that it's from ancient India. We'll get on, so we'll have a look at the Pushkapaka ancient Vimana, a particular one. We'll look at some more images, and then we'll see where this goes, man. Pull the thread. Anyway, just a few minutes, little Breaking Eggs and Minds podcast. Just bear with us a sec.
Because we were almost impacted by Venus. This is all fully understood now. And the astrophysicists have to look at this, and the people that are geologists, and all the is.
They supersized the Common Core, which, as it turns out, is disgusting.
Obviously, somebody's playing with us.
Yeah, they're showing off. Killing epidemiologists with the Common Cold. It is impressive.
All the is.
I want to know who's next.
Police identified as contrived, but the computer went off the chart.
Maybe we can figure out who's next.
Normal human beings have 40 DNA mammal groups, which is more than enough for each species to perpetuate itself. This had 200,000.
You did it. What was that? How did you do that?
Name was September. He was part of the original 12 sign traveled back to observe humanity. He was banished for sympathy. Fugitives I'm tracking. The same fugitives who are in possession of the anomaly.
Why go to such lengths to protect a genetic defect?
I do not know. I would like a protocol suspension to travel back to when I can eradicate these resistors.
We are not prepared to deal with a readjustment of probability.
I have quiet you.
The fugitives are inconsequential. He poses minimal risk
chance of survival. He did.
Is there something wrong with you?
I am experiencing something that I do not understand. The idea of ending their existence consumes me.
They are insignificant. So, no.
Some people believe that crystals have spiritual properties and can be used to connect with the ancient civilization of Atlantis. They believe the crystals were once used by the Atlanteans for spiritual healing, meditation, and communication. Some people believe that the crystals can still be used for these purposes today. The Atlantis crystal power myth is the belief that crystals from Atlantis have special powers. This myth is often associated with the idea that Atlantis was a highly advanced civilization that was destroyed by a natural disaster. Some people believe that the crystals from Atlantis survived the disaster and can be used to tap into the power of Atlantis. Have you ever tried? Check out Spirit Magica Crystal Shop and use coupon code Troubled Minds, all one word, for 25% off your first purchase.
Back to the show, folks. Thanks for bearing with us at that break there, especially for the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. I'm back on the Exile Minds podcast with me, Liam Martin, episode number 48, covering the ancient Vimanas, ancient flying machines. We've had a look at some of the skepticism. Is it mythology? Is it not? Is it just part of the culture and the religion, the deities? That's the way they're explaining how they get across, flying across the sky. But then we found that, there's some technical explanations about at least some idea of how they're constructed and some idea how they work. I remember they're talking about offensive and defensive weapons. There was talk of how they would be controlled by the will of the pilot. And I remember there was one instance as well. It was talking about that a pilot had to have a certain code to be able to make it work. Like they needed a login password, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So, offensive, defensive weapons, kind of log in, move with the power of your mind. It sounds awfully like modern day technology, and it sounds awfully like. We can talk about UFOs now because it's in the news. Mainstream's talking about it. US military's gone, hey, yeah, this is a thing, and okay, so we can talk about UFOs now, right? So this is what this stuff looks like to me. When some of them first UFOs that were recovered, supposedly, they didn't have controls, and they were using the mind to sort of manifest it. That's a long story. There's a guy called Ralph Ring made a UFO. Sounds crazy, sounds wild, but engineer and not lots of technical know-how, knew a couple of other guys, they've been doing some stuff, solving problems for universities, but they were saying, don't fix this, we need the grant money, so don't solve it, but they'd solved it. So they knew the answers to things, so they went and kind of made one, and they were pointing out, saying that you kind of manipulating time, you kind of have to think the place that you're going to. It's a really confusing one, but I find it fascinating that in modern era, some of the leaked stuff talking about UFOs, which we know is a thing. UFOs, we know it's a thing. These flying around at crazy speeds and they're intelligently. We know it's a thing, right? So that changes everything. So I've been skeptical about his Vimana stuff and that, and there's no cultures, but no. Göbekli Tepe changes history. There's civilizations way older that we have no idea about. Yeah, there's a brand new queen and pyramid that were discovered in Egypt. It was last year. It might have been this year. I've covered it. Was it this year? Earlier this year? It might have been last year, but I know it was in the summertime. But yeah, pyramid, new queen, new pyramid episode that I did. And you can just completely miss stuff. Whole totally missing out of the whole sort of pantheon, like. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. So we've seen there's some. I don't think this myth is what I'm getting to. I think the first gained these with this technical manual type stuff. The Vimanas Shastra. It's controversial. It's widely regarded as pseudoscientific mythical work, and it gets dismissed as a hoax. But I think it's going a bit too far. At first, in just chucking it out, baby out with the bathwater. So it first gained attention, just to reference, early attention in the early 20th century, published by G.R. Royster, Indian journalist, was published these Vimanas Shastras. The text was subject to speculation and debate, with some people believing it's evidence of ancient technologies and others considering it fiction, but I think there's something to it. And so I want to have a look at the Pushka Paka was a special Vimana. I think one of the gods owned that. So we're going to see what Curiosmos, they're a very reliable website. I recommend them for sure. So we'll see what Curiosmos got to say about all of this, because I know they'll have an article on it. And here we go then. So Curiosmos, I think this tab might need a quick reload. Okay, so oh no, we ain't got the pictures. What's going on here? I don't know what's going on with this Curiosmos article. I might have to just come back. Here we go. So for the video viewers, just so you can get a bit of they've made a bit of an elaborate image for it. But there's some good writers on Curiosmos. This particular article is from this year, from August 4th. This is by Justin Gurkinich. Justin Gurkinich writes, The Pushkapaka Vimana, Ancient India's Mysterious Flying Machine? ? So, from Curiosmos article. Now I'll get myself off the screen out of the way for a minute. The Pushkapaka Vimana that resembles the sun and belongs to my brother this is a quote. The Pushkapaka Vimana that resembles the sun and belongs to my brother was bought by a powerful Ravana. That aerial and excellent Vimana is going everywhere it will. The chariot resembling the bright cloud in the sky, and the king Rama got in. And the excellent chariot at the command of Raghira rose up into the higher atmosphere. And that's from the Ramayana. The Pushkapaka Vimana, a term that has fascinated historians and archaeologists and enthusiasts of ancient Indian mythology, refers to a mythical flying chariot or aircraft described in various ancient Hindu texts. There are some that believe that it's a poetic metaphor, others suggest that it might indicate an advanced technology lost in history, which I think it might be hinting towards that. There's a detailed dive into it. So, described in the Ramayana, as mentioned, one of the epic poems of ancient India. In the text, it's portrayed as a divine flying chariot capable of travelling vast distances at incredible speeds, like the UFOs. Okay. In the earliest flying chariot reference in the Hindu scriptures, it separates the celestial horse-drawn chariots of the gods. According to the text, it was created by Vishkarama for Brahma. So, is a revered deity of creation, Brahma. Subsequently, Brahma bestowed this remarkable flying Vimana on Kubera, the god of wealth. However, fate took a different turn when his half-brother, King Ravana, cunningly stole both the Pushkapaka Vimana and the city of Lanka and Kubera's possessions. So he subverted him and stole all his stuff. Interpretations of this is that while some scholars interpret it as being a symbol of divine power or of metaphorical representation of a spiritual journey, others propose that it might refer to an actual aircraft reflecting highly advanced technology, as I mentioned. Controversial theories and debates. It's become a subject of modern interpretation. Is more controversial than others. These include the theories that link the Vimana to extraterrestrial technology. I don't think they're extraterrestrial. Myself, just to make that point. I'm not saying that these are extraterrestrial necessarily. I'm just saying that I think there's a thread, that there's a certain way to make things fly. Do you know what I mean? And using your mind and consciousness, I think that's the way forward with technologies. Using psi interfaces and psi skills, because we've got psi skills, we've got psi, we've got consciousness, and we can use it. We can use it to make things do stuff. So, you think of it like Neuralink or some chip in your head, but it's beyond that. We don't need the chips in the heads, and we're already projecting out, sort of thing. But anyway. So it is controversial, right? But it's that many scholars and scientists remain skeptical about it because they don't believe in this stuff can be done. They think everything's the latest today when it's not necessarily, which again we'll get to. They could say it all symbolic. But the concept of the Pushkapaka Vimana has influenced modern literature, films, media, and reflecting a blend of ancient mythology and science fiction themes. Same again, there's a bit of a debate as whether or not, are these things real? But the thing is, there are some kind of sketches. Yeah, let's see if we can find. So what I wanted to get to is, it's okay. So we've got this Curiosmos article, and it says that the story of the Vimana just belong in the past. It's a part of who we are now. It's the tales that remind us the keeper's dreaming, the keeper's questioning, the keeper's exploring the boundaries of what's possible. Exactly, and this is why I'm interested in it. So I want to know either way, but also I want to see if, even if these weren't real, did the ancients have better stuff? Because I think that we did, and I've got a good argument for it, and I'm backed up by some very prestigious, organisations. But so that's what they're saying. Again, Curiosmos covered this, and it does inspire you to go in and look at these things. Okay, so let's move on to another article. So Historic Mysteries. Let's see what they've got to say about it. So in Historic Mysteries, there's a pretty little picture. There's a bit like a pagoda in this one. It's depicted in a kind of sort of watercolour painting. There's a bit of a golden pagoda with two little side houses next to it, little things. It's almost like seeing the building could fly, which maybe is a thing. But what I want to get to with this is that I want to see what Historic Mysteries have got to say. I'll quickly read through this. So, can we do a reader mode on this? There we go. Right, Vimanas in Hindu machines. Did ancient Indians have flying saucers? Historic Mysteries. The Hindu texts and Vedas, including the religious teachings, are full of amazing stories about different gods and their extraordinary powers and battles that took place centuries ago. Their sagas are perceived as mythological stories and create useful lessons for application in real life. These myths describe gods who fight against evil forces on flying crafts. These are originally known as Ratha, before being more commonly referred to as Vimana, meaning traversing or measured out. Vimanas are flying chariots or even flying palaces, as we've seen in the depiction of the pagoda. It's mentioned in the Sanskrit epics, the flying palaces. The Pushkapaka Vimana of Ravana, the guy that stole it, was a central antagonist in the Hindu epic Ramayana. So yeah, you can say, maybe it's just in their stories, right? It's all in their epics, it's in their religious stuff, so you can kind of throw it out. Problem with that, as we'll see here, is that in 1516, so we're saying, it's Johnny Foreigner. You could argue this. Celestial Battle. I'm sure it's 1516. I got it wrong, 1561. So you start saying that. You could say, oh, yeah, it's foreign. It's foreign. They've got this other cultural thing. It's part of their culture. Oh, no, it's just imaginary. Thing is, though, all right, then. Okay, you can say that. But what about European history? Much more modern times. Okay, 1561. Right? 1561 ain't that long ago. 1561, Nuremberg, same thing. They're recording the same thing. Celestial battles in the sky. Same stuff. A mass sighting of a celestial phenomenon, they're calling it. This is unidentified objects that are flying. These are UFOs occurred in 1561 above Nuremberg. Okay? Then it was the free imperial city of the Holy Roman Empire. Nuremberg, Germany, 1561. Some skeptics feel that the phenomenon was likely to have been a sundog, except loads of them. Battles, different shapes and sizes. You can see in the newspaper, if you links will be in the description, but if you've seen them, there's a newspaper article of it from back in the times. It's on Wikipedia. A celestial phenomenon over German city Nuremberg on April 14th, 1561, as printed in an illustrated news notice that same month in that year. In 1561, I got the printing press, boom shanker. They wrote about it. And they've shown you the sky is full. It shows you a tiny little town at the bottom. And then just the sky just full of blue spheres, red spheres, brown spheres, long blue tubes, long brown tubes, strange long red tubes that aren't quite tubes with jagged edges, brown tubes with jagged edges. You got crosses that are red with blue balls on the end, crosses with brown and is that what? You got these crazy shapes in the sky. You know, just all over the place, and pieces of the town on fire. You know, broadsheet newspaper article printed in April 1561 describes a mass sighting of a quote-unquote celestial phenomenon. The broadsheet illustrated with a woodcut engraving and text by hand glazer. See, someone took the time to make a wooden engraving of it all. Do you know how long that'd take? That takes that's hours and hours, tens, hundreds of hours, maybe 100 hours, maybe. If you're skilled crowd, I don't know. It's a lot of effort. Count the seconds. Right, so it's under the wooden engraving of it, which measures 26.2, measures 10 inches by 15 inches. Document is archived in the Prints and Drawings collection as Zastras Bibliothek, Zurich, Switzerland. According to the broadsheet, around dawn, on the 14th of April, 1561, many men and women of Nuremberg saw, as the broadsheet described, an aerial battle. They're not calling it a celestial phenomenon. The papers said it was an aerial battle out of the sun. An aerial battle out of the sun. A bunch of stuff came from where the sun is and just started fighting. Followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object, which is depicted in the picture. Black triangles. And hello, that's modern day ufology stuff, that is. Black triangles. So, you know. So the black triangular object and exhausted combatant spheres fall into the earth in clouds of smoke. So there was things crashing, and that's probably why parts of the town are on fire in the picture. There's, smoke in the bottom right-hand corner, two billowing pillars of smoke, two separate ones. So the broadsheet claims that the witnesses observed hundreds of spheres, cylinders, and other odd-shaped objects that moved erratically overhead. The woodcut illustration depicts objects of various shapes, including crosses, with or without spheres or arms on, small spheres, two large crescents, a black sphere, cylindrical objects. Some smaller spheres emerged and darted around the sky at dawn. So, what we're talking, this ain't that ancient. This isn't, ancient cultural religions. That's not in no religion stuff. Well, what are they? What are they supposed to be? So, my argument there is that no, celestial phenomenon, as in UFOs, have been going on since forever. And if the ancient Indians said they've been dealing with stuff, they've been doing things a lot longer than us. I say it's more in the Southeast Asian area where there's African Buddhas, which we don't hear about. So there's a whole missing piece of history here. There's African Buddhas in Southeast Asia, more towards where this is, you know, the east of, we're talking these Vimanas and Bimanas, Bangladeshi area. So more towards, say, Tibet, Kingdom, Brunei, getting more towards, you know, Southeast Asia. So, say some really ancient stuff there. Found some copper wire there, and so we're talking. This is archaeology stuff, and famously from all this, then we get this thing of like, well, what about the Nazis and wonder weapons? Because the archaeology was major part of the German culture at the time. It was major endeavor for the German government. They send armies out, they send soldiers out going looking for artifacts because they wanted to prove stuff archaeologically to do with Aryans, to prove their philosophies. Okay, so they wanted the evidence. So archaeology and the Indiana Jones story is somewhat true, and they really were looking for these things, you know. And then those same people, Germany, the same people then go on to make UFO type craft and strange wonder weapons. Not only were they looking at Indian texts and going to India and going to Tibet and going looking for these things, they were looking for the information. In 1561, they've had their own celestial battle above their head. So they know this stuff happens. They've been going looking for archaeological evidence to do with what Aryans and races or whatever and outer space people, because they thought they were from outer space. And Germany today are famous for being good engineers. So why, pray tell, would these people be going after this Vimana type stuff if it's just a load of bunk and there's nothing to it, and there's no engineering details and it's just kind of stupid? Is my question. Is what I'm kind of wondering about. You know. So there's some weird tie-in here where people are actually, it's like saying, oh no, this is a load of rubbish. Just cultural or metaphorical, but we've had actual weird, you know, that 1561 Nuremberg Celestial Battle. You know, this stuff happens. Well, Eriko, comment in the chat there. Yes, Hitler used Sanskrit terms, though used incorrectly by him, to describe his politics. World War II. Yeah, they was well interested in this stuff. Well interested in it. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up, Eriko, because this is how. This is, yeah, we'll go to another article here. Because like I say, the Indiana Jones thing is kind of a bit of a thing. And so the swastika, again, famously, that's a famous Nazi symbol, but it's not from there. It's so not from there. And so I've got an article about it, just basically it sort of says the man who brought the swastika to Germany, how he kind of stole the symbol. So even that, because we're fascinated with this ancient symbol, so let's have a quick look at this just to tie in, you know, the East with Germany and UFOs. Okay, so this is from the Smithsonian's magazine online, so smithsonianmag.com. So the man who brought the swastika to Germany and how the Nazis stole it, even after decades, the symbol can't shake free its evil associations. Which is true, you know, teach you about Falun Dafa and Taoism, people have to point out to you that swastika symbol. You know, foreigners have to me, saying, oh, it's not evil, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. But yeah, it was an archaeologist called Henrik Schliemann. Henrik Schliemann travelled to Attica, Greece in 1868. One goal was on his mind, discovering the ancient city of Troy using Homer's Iliad poem to try and find it. Epic poem was widely believed to have been no more than myth. Again, another example, people thought Homer's Iliad was myth. But this archaeologist, Henrik Schliemann, used that myth, supposedly, poem, to try and find the city of Troy. He was convinced that was actually going to find the hidden location of the city. Yeah. Finds it. Right. So Schliemann found his epic city and the swastika on the Aegean coast of Turkey. There he continued the excavation started by British archaeologist Frank Culver at a site known as Hisarlik's Mound. So Schliemann's methods were brutal. He used crowbars and battering rams to excavate, but it was effective. He quickly realised the site had 7 different layers from societies going back thousands of years. Schliemann had found Troy and the remains of a civilization coming before and after it. And on the shards of pottery, the sculpture throughout there, he found at least 1,800 variations of the same symbol, a spindle or swastikas, spindle whorls or swastikas they call them. So we found 1,800 different variations. And this is like in 1886, did you say? 1871. 1871. Found 1,800 different variations of the swastika. I think it represents galaxies. I think the galaxies, or the spiraling nature and vortexes, I think it represents fundamental principles, high physics stuff that if you know, like Victor Schauberger with the implosion engine and stuff. We did the water episode. And, but yeah. So Germany were really interested in this stuff. As a government and as a technical exercise to get technical information to get an edge, and then when war comes, then they even more want a technical edge, and they still continue it, and then they do famously have wonder weapons. Do you know what I'm saying? And now we're wondering about the Nazi bell. I remember we did a show on that, the Glocker, that this kind of wonder weapon of counter-rotating barrels that might have been a UFO, you know, a really crude one. So there's loads of weird stuff, and then they've got all the sort of cosmic side of things that they were doing with the consciousness stuff, the Thule Society, and there's all that with it gets weird. And because they went full on a cult, didn't they? Then SS officers and whatnot, that side, because they were trying everything to try and make this stuff work, trying to get an edge for war, and also because they want to prove the theories. So there's definitely some stuff. There's some stuff here, and they won't be. I don't think you'd be putting the effort in. Unless there's something that's expected to find something to it. Personally, that's what I think. I don't think we're going to these endeavours and they took the symbol. Why steal the symbol? They've seen it as a powerful thing. It's a very popular symbol. The swastika is a very, very popular symbol until, Second World War, and they flipped it around and used it for, whatever. So, it's a funny one, but yeah. There's definitely something in there. I just wanted to. I never found that acoustic levitation video that I was hoping to show you. There was a really cool one. There's a bunch out there you can find, but I was hoping to show one that it does it on sand as well, and it shifts the sand around. But you can maybe have a look if you desperately want to see some acoustic levitation. But yeah, sound will make things levitate. Get the right frequency. In fact, sound will make things break apart as well. You get it right, which talks to the trumpets of Jericho. You get just the right tone to bring the walls down, sort of thing. So sound's a thing. Maybe we should have we done a show on sound and frequencies? I don't know. But anyway, I think we're coming up to an hour now. We've done an hour show, so I think I'd better wrap this one up. I'm going to start doing longer form shows going on in the future, because I don't think an hour is quite enough to get on. But once I've got all these other platforms figured out and all this streaming sorted out, then we'll perhaps do hour-and-a-half shows, maybe 2. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, that's enough from me, Liam Martin, an Exoman's podcast talking about Vimanas. We'll maybe do a part 2 on this one, talk about some other fly machines and see if we can find any more out about this. But anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. And tune into the Exoman's podcast on Spotify and YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey as well, and tune into the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll catch you next time on Exo Minds Podcast. You take it easy. See you later.
I'm a little man. Have people from your world been here before?
Before, yes.
Okay.
We are interested in your species.
It's a great thing. I should have been a pair of ragged claws.
You are a strange species. Not like any other. You would be surprised how many you are. Intelligent and savage.
Hey Vince, why do they call aliens chicks?
Because they look like chiggos. They're like fleas. They burrow themselves in your skin.
your best was our worst.
You're tuned into Troubled Minds Radio Network on KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where we peer into the future, embrace the power of AI, and delve deep into the conspiracies that shape our world.
Are you looking for a way to connect with your spirituality? Look no further than Spirit Magica Crystal Shop. They have a wide variety of crystals, from amethyst to obsidian and more, including crystal packs, unique deals, and amazing customer service. The products are made with the highest quality materials and are backed by their satisfaction guarantee. Spirit Magica Crystal Shop are committed to helping you find the tools and resources you need to live a magical life. So what are you waiting for? Visit Spirit Magica today. Use coupon code Troubled Minds, all one word, at checkout for 25% off your first purchase.